Welcome to Leads and Leverage, Real Estate Team Leader Lounge, where success in real estate meets passion-driven leadership. I'm your host, Tyler Gibson. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate team leader, and investor, and I'm thrilled to have you join us in the ultimate hub for real estate excellence. In this exclusive lounge, we're diving deep into strategies, tactics, and stories that fuel the success of real estate teams. Whether you're a seasoned pro looking to take your leadership skills to new heights or an aspiring entrepreneur ready to build your own powerhouse team, this podcast is your go-to resource for insider insights and actionable advice. Get ready to hear from top experts, industry pioneers, and real-world achievers who are making waves in the real estate world. We'll explore the best practices, share invaluable lessons learned, and equip you with tools you need to thrive in today's competitive market. Welcome to the lounge where leaders are made and success is earned. Come on in to the Real Estate Team Leader Lounge.
When I started, because I was a solo agent doing a great amount of business, and I think there was just a complete lack of understanding of how to actually build a team. And there's this idea that I have all this business, and then the overflow of that just kind of pours onto people, and that's why you get a buyer agent and you've got these managers and team leaders telling you that that's how it should be, but they've never actually grown the team. They've only grown a brokerage, and the brokerage has stuff that spills over. And so it's like, you think that it's like that a brokerage is just going to be, or a team is going to be a mini replicate of a brokerage. And it's not. It's a very, very different business model. And so, I thought I was cocky and cool, and we were like the cool kids on the block. And there was a lot of natural organic growth that happened. And there was a ton of people who just decided to join. So we went from 3 to 5 to 8. And then the next year it was 12 and then 18. And we actually moved out of the market center and we had our own office, and things were growing pretty quick. But I mean, ego steps in, man, the ego and pride and self-focus. I mean, it's a hard position because as real estate agents, many times what I found is that, agents come out of not I worked at corporate America and I know how to play the game. Those are great team leaders a lot of times because they know how to fit in the box and, do the thing and be a business owner. But for those of us who didn't, it's cool to see your name on a sign. It's cool to see your face on a billboard or on the back of a bus or something like that. So you start investing in that, and you trick yourself into saying that it's going to be, it's for the team, it's for advertising, and it's not. It's for ego. And then you start getting the bigger office, and it's not because the team needs it. It's because it's for ego. And then you start going down all of these pathways that you yourself have actually done. And so I'll kind of I think podcasts are valuable if people are honest and transparent. I went down a path of just building this egomaniacal machine that grew into 40 or 50 people until I had a real problem in my life, and I had a moral failure that showed up in my life, and I lost my marriage, and I nearly destroyed my business. And it was one statement that I coached with John Cheplack, and I remember I'd kind of just started with him at the time, and I told him about this. I said, here's what's going on in my life. And he said, David, the private will always show up in the public. What is happening in the personal will always show up in the professional. So if you are, you're having me on here to talk about my experience as a team leader, I'm not here to burst any bubbles. Having a team is great, and starting a team can be an extremely profitable adventure. And I will tell you that on the other side of this, there's good, there's awesomeness, it's fun. But I will also tell you that this starting a team should not be taken lightly. It is a massive endeavor, and what ends up happening from it is like money. It is power. It is everything that is going on inside of here. It amplifies. And so one of the most important things I can tell team leaders is to invest in yourself as a human being. Surround yourself with a community who is going to keep you on the right track, on a straight and narrow, to be your best version of yourself, because this position is a position of leadership, and leadership is not to be taken lightly. And I've learned the hard way from that.
Wow. So much that I want to ask about and unpack. I don't know that we have enough time for all that, but For anyone listening, David's mentioned the Red Book a couple of times. And so if you don't know what the Red Book is, specifically, he's referring to Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by Gary Keller. It's kind of the manual for Keller Williams for team leaders. And so I just wanted to give context to that reference a couple of times. It's on my shelf. It's sitting right back here. It's something that I've looked at. I don't know that I've followed the model exactly the way. I mean, and I don't think people have to, right? My business is not listing forward, listing focused. We work with a lot of real estate investors, and that's kind of our niche. But so you don't have to follow the Red Book. However, it's a tried and true blueprint for a lot of team leaders. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely suggest that folks would. Talk to me about the biggest pitfall related to putting your face on buses and billboards and that sort of thing. You mentioned that you tricked yourself into thinking it was good for business, but really it was more ego. In what way? Or did you find that it wasn't really about the business? How did that manifest itself beyond the personal thing that showed up in public? What was it about doing that kind of marketing that you determined that really wasn't the right move?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things here. Like I know a lot of buddies of mine in the industry that have their names on billboards and buses, and it works out awesome. And it is really a great tool for marketing. It's brand recognition, et cetera. But I think that there's this part of the process that if you're not measuring what matters, which is like, hey, what is the ROI on this? It's okay to test something, right? It's okay to be like, hey, let's test to see if this actually works. But it wasn't like a strategic, like we're going to put a face on a billboard and then we're going to put it on a bus and then we're going to put it in a magazine, and then it's going to show up every day in the newspaper, and then we're going to run Facebook ads on it, and it's going to be like, hey, David Brooke is Mr. Connecticut Sold. Like, that wasn't a strategy. It was like, oh, I got a pitch from someone to be able to, put my face on the back of a bus. And I was like, that could be sick. And like, you do it, and you make that choice in order to do it. But it's mostly because it's like, well, that would be cool, wouldn't it? And why is it that would be cool? Like, what is the problem that you're actually looking to solve by spending that money? And I think when you start a team, there is a delicate balance between the value and cost that the team is providing. So I'll just kind of dig into it a little bit because it relates to the topic of ego, right? So there is a cost to running a team, and there is hopefully that from what you spend, there is created larger value than what one single person could produce on their own. And you offer it to that single person and you say, hey, I've got this value. And then would you exchange it, instead of being an expense to you, recurring all the time, would you pay for this as a cost of sale to your business? Meaning, if you're a part of this, if you're at the table of our team, then I'm selling you that you're going to generate more income being at this table than you would on your own. And I'm going to also generate for you more time by being at this table than on your own. And if we just put that into a spreadsheet, if we just put that into a calculator, if we did some sort of looking at it and measuring, if you believe and I believe, and we can actually prove that the cost of this service is less than the value of this service, then you'd be a part of this team. And so that discussion needs to constantly be happening. And I think where that conversation starts to fade away is where no one else is involved with the decision making but the team leader. And so what ends up happening is, when someone presents the team leader with, and by the way, if you don't know this, as soon as you become a team leader, your phone calls will amplify from one phone call a week to at least one a day if someone's trying to sell you something, right? Because they see you as the pathway to, 15 other people's sales. So, when you start getting presented that you're going to be on the country club, a ticket, and you're going to be sponsoring a gala, and it sounds really good. And maybe I'm not like discounting this. What I am my point here is your business decisions must be based upon ROI rather than upon ego. And I feel like I just want to extend grace to anyone in the moment who's listening to this, who has gone down that pathway, because it's a lesson that some of us have to learn by actually doing it. We have to learn by spending the several $1,000s and being on whatever, some TV show or something like that. And then you realize like, all right, cool. That got me one sale, or it didn't get me any sales, but it was pretty cool for brand recognition, et cetera. So that's more or less the path of measuring what matters.
Yeah. So I love what you mentioned about the cost of the service. Is it less than the value? Talk to me a little bit about the value prop of your team, right? And every team's different. I understand that, right? Some teams, the team leader is a rainmaker, generating lots of leads and passing the business on. I spoke with another team leader. That wasn't her model at all. Her model was, I'm here to coach and support and give you maybe some marketing materials, but otherwise, you're kind of still operating as your own business, but kind of within a network. So tell me a little bit about how you guys structure as a team and what you guys offer as a value proposition that would convince somebody or would have somebody say, yeah, I'll give you a 50 or 60 or 30% of my commission per sale. What does that look like for you guys?
Yep. So if I was a real estate agent and I got into this business, my first year goal would be to probably earn $100,000 or more. And I would want to find the way to do that within a limited time period of 1 year. And so I would need to ask myself, okay, how am I going to generate sales in order to do that? And then I would probably think to myself of a few different areas and where I could generate the business. I've determined 6 of them, and then I run my team off of that. So the first is sphere of influence, online leads, business to business, niche groups. That would be like your gym, your church, your personal groups, something like that. Neighborhood marketing and distress sales. And so I'd identify ways that I could grow my business in all of those. And then I'd have to ask myself, okay, from my sphere of influence, from my neighborhood marketing, from all of those, let me determine based upon the time that I have available, how many units I could possibly generate. I'm going to put a time to that. And so there's actual like metrics that we could say, all right, I probably in my first year will generate a lot of buyers. And those buyers will probably take me 40 hours each in order to handle. And then I can handle sellers at 10 to 20 hours each. Okay, great. Let's put that on docket. Okay, how long will it take me in order to generate these leads? Well, I got to sit on the phone and call my sphere and hope that they refer me. And then I have to call a bunch of businesses and partner with them. And then I have to door knock in neighborhoods, and I have to visit my niche groups in my gym or whatever and be explicit about, And so I start to form a business plan for every single one of these verticals. And I come down to it at the end of the day. And this is if I'm truly, truly running a business, if I actually want to crunch the numbers on both cost and time. And I start to realize that a real estate transaction takes about 180 steps. And then it roughly takes around 40 to 60 hours in order to complete a transaction from start to finish. And that includes the lead generation time. It also includes the lead follow-up time. It also includes the amount of time to service the transaction, show them a ton of houses, drive back and forth to your house, print out all the envelope. Then it also takes time in order to make the deal happen. And then it takes time to get back into nurturing the clients even after the sale, looking at your business and analyzing its data, and then making sure that you're planning for things and doing research and development for new tools that you could do in the industry. Finally, there's training and practice that would come into it as well. So you have all of these parts of this business. And if you just wrote it down at the beginning of getting into real estate, you'd probably realize that this is more than a full-time job. And it always has been more than a full-time job. And that's the biggest lie, is people actually swing it the opposite way and they believe it can be a part-time job when it's truly about 2 to 3 jobs combined together. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lie in the business from brokerage that states that you can do all of that here and we'll give you all the tools when it's not possible. The brokerage isn't practicing with you. The brokerage isn't possibly reviewing your ROI every single week. The brokerage isn't actually helping you meet the clients and service them. The brokerage isn't helping you knock the doors. The brokerage isn't, and you could go on and on from there. And what you find out is that you, the only person, are there responsible for all of this. And the probability of you finding someone and being able to do all of those things and being consumed with that is a full-time job. And there's these glass ceilings that people end up hitting because they're ending up with one person and they're trying so hard and they're so focused on that one person. Why? Because it is a full-time job. So the idea to let that person go and then go find a new person is a ceiling that they must break through, and they realize, I'm working two jobs at the same time. I'm servicing people and I'm also having to go get new people. But there's a third job that they fail to, which is actually running their business, researching, training, and modifying the business to be better and more efficient. And so what we've done as a team is we've stepped in and we've said, hey, what if we decided that instead of doing all of those jobs and trying to capture the entire process that would be possible if you did everything yourself, what would it be if we assisted you with systems that helped you lead generate, systems that helped you lead follow-up, systems that monitored your business and analyzed it for you, along with all of your commission and compliance associated tasks? What if we helped you with your marketing and actually did your social media for you and helped you edit it and produce the graphics for you? What if we actually wrote your offers for you while you were on the road so you didn't have to deal with that? What if we actually coached you each week and we monitored your business weekly and we checked in with you not only at the beginning of the week, but the middle of the week? What if we provided training programs for you that were actually tailored specifically to your area of the country for where you were at? What if we provided you with a 500-step onboarding plan that allowed you to get started in the business and had week 2, day 3, week 4, day 5? Every single day we had something for you to do so that by the time you got through 90 days to 100 days, you really had a clear understanding of exactly where you sat in the business. And what if we provided a mentor for you who was constantly there to be able to monitor and help you deal doctor issues that showed up with your transactions, help you move people through the stages of real estate? What if we provided you with tools that you didn't have to go find for yourself, and you always had someone who's on the cutting edge and looking at the things and saying no to a lot of them and maybe yes to 1 or 2 per year that allowed you to move your business forward? What if we actually put all your listings in for you in the MLS and paid for all of your marketing? What if we actually handled your transactions for you, in that we had a transaction coordinator that wasn't just checking in on milestones, but actually helping the transaction move further along? What if we said no to a lot of the people who were trying to sell you all the time and actually said, here's the trusted people we've seen come into the business and actually will be a partner for you rather than just try to buy you drinks? And so that's what we've done in our community. And it's not for everyone, but it is for people who say, look, I want to say basically no, the most powerful word that you can learn out there. I want to say no to a whole lot of things. And I just want to say yes to being able to nurture new relationships and foster those existing ones. And I get to be best friends with people so that anytime they have anything from the sidewalk, the front sidewalk to the rear fence, they call David Brooke. And that's the idea behind it. And so we've done that. We've also, that's our support systems, our training systems, then our lead systems include, yes, we purchase a lot of leads. And yes, we run lead funnels. And yes, we teach you how to generate leads in all of these different 6 areas. And we build those up for people. And yes, we have an ISA department. And yes, we use AI technology to generate leads. And we've done all of these things for people so that they basically have to just stay in the lane. And if that's valuable, if you think, Tyler, that could possibly generate you more business than you forming it and doing it on your own and billing for it, well, then I have a conversation about cost. And our costs are pretty straightforward. Our costs incentivize producers. Our costs are 50-50 up front, and they go for $5 million worth of production. And then at $5 million, it escalates from there. And so what we do is we've got a high incentive for high producers. And so it pushes people along that path. And so that's why we have producers on our team who are doing $20 million, $25 million a year and still in a team, meaning they saw the value, not with just, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to teach me how to write a purchase contract. You're going to be around in case I have a question. That's a broker. That's very different than a team leader. A team leader says, I'm going to take all of these business operations that you would possibly have to handle, and I'm going to take it on myself. And I'm going to provide you the value so it's plug and play.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you mentioned the lie that brokerages tell you, right? I mean, my coach, he talks about it all the time. When you talk to new agents, specifically new agents, right? They all get into the industry and they say, I'm going to go make $1 million, right? And it's like getting in a dinghy in the middle of the ocean in a crowded canal where there are tanker ships going through, right? And you think that you're going to row out in your dinghy and land a whale. The reality is you're probably going to get run over by one of those tanker ships, right? And so you have to have a better support system. I think a lot of times for new agents, it's really important to have a third party to refer to, right? A higher authority that they can refer to as well. Because it's so important to work your sphere of influence when you start, but you're also brand new. And your friends and family, the people that know you and know you well, they know that. They know that about you, right? And just because you took the 2-weekend course to get your real estate license doesn't make you a real estate expert. So being able to leverage a higher authority when you're on a team to say, well, yeah, I know that I'm new, but I've got this great mentor, David Brooke, that's been in the industry for 13 years, and he's done millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of transactions. So it's not me that you get. It's me and David and everybody else on David's team to make sure that your home sale goes perfect or that your home purchase goes perfect. And so I love that you mentioned the great lie about getting into real estate, and because there's so many people that really do, they get into it because they think it's a way that they can have that financial freedom, that time freedom, and they don't realize it's more than a full-time job. They don't realize what it's going to take to reach that level of success. And so if you can get plugged into somebody else's system to help you get going, that's, in my opinion, that's the best way to start, right? And I didn't start on a team. I started solo and did it, just banged my head against the wall for a couple of years till we figured it out, right? And some luck played into it for me. I won't deny that, but I love that. If you were talking to somebody who was thinking about starting a team, what's the one piece of advice, or maybe two, that you would tell them to consider as they think about launching a team? What are the two notes that you would tell them? Would you tell them yes? Would you tell them no? what would your advice be?
So my advice for people who ask me about starting a team, the first thing that I say is you need to at least be doing a minimum of $8 million of production yourself. So you would think that most people are like, oh man, I'm doing 20 million or 30 million. Should I start a team? Like, that's a different question. So this is just my personal belief, is that you need to be doing $8 million worth of production. Why 8? Why not 7? Why not 9? At $8 million worth of production, you're roughly earning around $200,000 a year. For $200,000 a year, you probably want to take a paycheck of at least $100,000 for yourself, because you're going to be earning 200. You probably want to take home 100. So you got to pay taxes, and you got to, right? Because you get in trouble with that stuff. So let's pay our taxes on our 100 at least. We know that we're going to take that home. So we got 100 plus our taxes, which are going to be roughly around 30%. Let's say you do a bunch of write-offs and you're blended around 20 to 25%. So you at least got it. 125 is now off the table. And now you're down to $75,000 that you got to work with. If your business is going to run at a complete bare minimum, you're going to live paycheck to paycheck. So without putting some money in the bank, in order for you to have a little bit of cushion, let's say you put $5-10 in the bank, so you've got 1 month worth of reserves. You put that, now we're down to $65,000. If you need some marketing in order to continue the business, right? So that's your whatever your personal business requires. So if your personal business requires 10, I run really lean. Okay, cool. You do a couple of client events. You don't run lean. I see people's, businesses. You run a couple of, client events. You got your gas for your car. You got all these other things that you got to pay for. Let's say you're running 10, 15K in operating expenses. So that's going to be just over $1,000 a month. That sounds so low, but let's say it is. Now you're down to $50,000 that you got to spend, that you got to play with. And with $50,000, you might be able to hire somebody to work for you to be able to give you more time for yourself in order for you to start selling more houses. Now, the reason that I say that is that $50,000, you get someone who can actually provide value not only for you, but for someone else. Because if someone's going to join you because, you just got some answers, that is a very short-lived business model. Because they're going to join you for a little while and you can get some answers from them. And maybe they just love community and maybe that's the only reason they want to join a team, but the probability of finding that is very low. Someone's typically going to want to join you because they have a desire for you to save them time and earn them more money. So how are you personally going to save them time and earn them more money? Well, I'm going to save them time by giving them answers. Like, bro, they can call the broker. I'm going to make them more money because I'm going to help them and show them the systems that I use in order to do it. Okay, cool, man. That's like 3 to 6 months, and they're going to learn what you do and peace out from you. That is not a team. A team is designed to provide not a knowledge base where I get to just hand you something and say, here's how it's done. And then you're like, thank you, I read this. Bye. I'm not going to split, a significant portion of my commission. The desire here is to provide something like, hey, now that I've hired so-and-so in the office that you normally wouldn't have, he or she is going to be able to help you with your transaction in terms of like handling some of the, client follow-ups or compliance or whatever it is. Now it's okay, that's valuable. And I get you as my mentor. Okay, that's valuable too. Now I'm going to stick around for a little bit. Okay, and now that person's there, now David Brooke can go get more business. And if I go get more business and more listings, now maybe that person can sit in my open houses and earn more business than they would have you get where I'm going? You need to have something in place, some sort of core competency in place for yourself in order to do that. The next thing that I would say is clearly define the value proposition of what you're going to provide to people. And for me, people want training, support, and leads. It's not just the trainings to be able to learn how to fill out a purchase contract. You got to find out what are a bunch of things that you had to learn along the business route that you had to figure out. Okay, it's on investments, how to analyze investment properties, how to provide valuation services, how to actually run a P&L, how to show a home, how you actually work through a transaction and go through negotiations and write those out. Write out those trainings, because if everything is always on the top of your head, it's never replicable. You'll soon have a couple of people around you. They're going to learn. You're going to invest into them, and then they leave. And you're like, I poured so much into you. But you don't have to worry about that if you know that other people are going to come in. It's like, hey, I've got all this stuff. And we repeat this constantly. So have a training program. Next is have a support system. What do people get, and how are they supported by being there, other than you just being a good guy or a good gal? And then lastly is the lead systems. Like, at the end of the day, dude, people need some leads. And I don't care if you don't provide leads or you don't do anything. At least have a reason or a way that people are going to earn more business by you. I just met with a team leader the other day, and he was like, listen, dude, we don't provide online leads. I've never provided online leads. I'm like, great, dude. So what do you do? He's like, dude, we've got a community program that is second to none. And if you join my team, you're going to play by my playbook. You're going to wear my colors. You're going to, do my thing. You're going to get involved in your community, whatever that is. Like, at least have something that people are going to play. Okay, I love that. I'm the community guy, right? Okay, so do that thing. But if it doesn't have that, then you're absent. So basically, the point here is define a value proposition and a playbook for yourself of like what you're going to provide to others, because you're a business inside of other businesses. And the last thing that I would say is have a purpose behind your business. Have a real purpose. People talk about like the big why and everything, but people end up being like, my kids are my big why. Okay. Your kids are your big why. Great. Well, if your kids are your big why and some guy's calling you at 6 o'clock trying to, figure out how to dial in an offer, like, you're not picking up because your kids are your big why. But your value proposition to him was, I'm always there for you and I'm going to always help you out. It's like, okay, so that's going to crash. And then what's your other big why? Well, my big why is, to live a purposeful life. Like, okay, cool. To live a purposeful life. Like, well, when your team mentor, your team agent is not producing, and you're just so afraid to let them leave. Like, how is a purposeful life? Like, okay, it's so abstract. My purpose in my business is to be profitable, right? Like, I want to make sure that I run a profitable business, because if I'm gonna be away from my lovely wife and my 2 kids, then I'm gonna have a problem if I'm running a non-profitable business. So I have to have a profitable business, number one. And then the second one is, my core values. And my core values, I have 4 core values. It's give a shit. It's family matters. It's figure it out. And the last one is the one I'll focus on. It's grow to lead and lead to grow. And for me, I'm all about developing leaders. And what I figured out in the team leading business is that the more leaders that you can create, the longer lasting relationships you can have, because people truly want to have a purpose in and of themselves, outside of themselves, and it's fulfilled most when it's outside of themselves. People get into the business and you hear them when they're like, oh, I just want to help people. Why? What is that really saying? I want to do something that's outside of myself that, yes, generates income for me. And so what we've done is we've created a mentor model, a community where leaders within our organization can have many squads underneath them, so teams within a team. So we're constantly creating these businesses within businesses within businesses. And that business allows them to basically earn company dollar on the people who they lead, and they grow to lead and lead to grow. And so that's been an extremely fun experience, and it's allowed our team to multiply and scale into other states, et cetera, because it's allowed people to basically take that, take the ego out of David and take it and put that leadership mantle onto other people. So define that true value proposition and figure out the true reason that you want to do it, that will scale with you.
I love that. So you mentioned it's not all about David. What's your team name?
Brooke team. It's a requirement by the state. I know.
Okay. They
you
require
have to
you to have your name in it?
Yeah. So we had dude. And I was like, I'm like public enemy number one when it comes to like the real estate community. Like those guys will literally, they freaking hate me. Why? Because I push every time I'm like, the system's broken, man. The system's broken. And I think that the powers that be can't stand me. But here's the deal. They had a public act that went into play, I want to say like 2 years ago. And I was the guy who was like, no, man, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. But they wanted to have it so you had to change your name. And it had to have the name of the team leader followed by the word team, and then and then the brokerage's name.
Brokerage. Interesting.
So because it was apparently providing confusion to the consumer as to who the team leader was and who the brokerage is. And so they wanted to make sure. But sooner, it was funny, they launched it. And so a bunch of us larger teams in the business had to change our names. And then, subsequently after, I think they've laxed up a little bit. I've seen some like names without the team leaders in there.
We're not rebranding again. That's too expensive.
I'm like, how about all the rebranding that we had to do and all the other stuff? Yeah. They're like, don't worry, you don't have to change your website because that's like a owned URL. I'm like, bro, what? What about all the brand recognition that we built? And they're like, government doesn't make sense, man. Government has, unless you run a business, you don't understand, right? You're just like, you're on some committee somewhere where someone thinks that it sounds good. So
yeah.
I'll probably get shot at for that one too.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Well, thank you so much for spending close to an hour with me chatting about your experience and your team and what you guys are focused on. What questions do you have for me? What value can I give you?
So I guess the biggest thing that I ask people is, what is your pathway to grow other leaders? Like, what do you do in order to give other people the ability to grow in their leadership? That's a huge question of mine.
Yeah, well, so we have not been terribly intentional in that. My team's unique in that 75% of the people on my team are part-time real estate agents that have full-time jobs.
Okay.
Kind of part of my purpose in starting a team, and part of the reason why I continue to operate a team and why I take part-time real estate agents onto my team is because I started in this industry as a part-time real estate agent.
Got it. Yeah, many of us did.
On the side. And, I know that in today's real estate landscape, a lot of teams don't take part-time agents, right? It's just not part of their business model. And that's fine. Every business model, it is what it is, right? You have to run your team the way that you see fit. As long as it's profitable, more power to you. And so I wanted to be a place where people that were starting in the industry were looking for more mentorship, were looking for some support, could come and they could get that value here, right? One of the biggest struggles for agents that are part-time is, hey, George, can I go see this house today at 1:00? I'm at work, right? That's one of the big struggles. And if you're not available, unless they're really good friends of yours, there's a semi-decent chance they'll click that contact agent button on Zillow or Realtor.
Yeah.
And you'll never hear from them again. And so part of my goal in starting a team was to say, that'll never happen here, right? If you have clients that want to see a house in the middle of the day and you can't go, myself or one of the other 3 full-time agents, we can go help make sure that that person gets into that house on their timeline, right? And everybody wins. Everybody's going to win. If you contributed to the success of that transaction, my commitment is that you'll be rewarded for that in some capacity. Now, are you going to get 50% of the transaction because you opened the door? Probably not. But I'll make sure that your time wasn't wasted, right? Especially if you are helping make sure that we have somebody go under contract and it gets to closing. So that was part of my why and why we do that. There are some people on my team I would love to take a leadership role, but I also understand that not everybody wants to coach and mentor other people. Some people would rather just focus on them. And so I'm always looking for that next leader within my organization. But I also understand not everybody wants that kind of role. And so it's slow. We're a team of 13 right now. And like I said, only 3 people are full time. And so we right now our goal is to try to support the people that are here, help them understand what lead generation opportunities are out there, helping them make sure that they know what they can do. As a part-time agent, what can I do to prospect? Well, sphere of influence, you said your niche groups, and we believe heavily in open houses, right? Go do an open house, right? On a Sunday. You shouldn't be working on Sunday. Most people don't. And open houses are great because I can get licensed on Tuesday and host an open house on Sunday. And I get to practice on the public. And they don't know me, so they have no idea that I'm brand new. If I know what to say, what not to say, and what questions to ask, I can have success in my first open house within 5 days of being licensed, right? And success to us at an open house is earning the right to follow up with somebody. We don't do the please sign in over here because the owner wants to know everybody that was in the house, because most of the time that's a lie. People know that's a lie. Don't try that. I don't believe in doing that, right? So we present information. We become educators at our open houses, and our goal is to just earn the opportunity to follow up with somebody. And so it's a little bit different, but I'm always looking for the next leader, right? And part of my goal in building a team is actually to replicate myself, right? And so in order to do that, I need to create other leaders. And so, and because of the business model that we're in within our brokerage, I am financially incentivized to replicate myself even within my own market. And because I have a growth mindset and I'm in a big market, I just, it's not competition, it's collaboration, it's a business partner. And so that's kind of been our focus.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. I love what you said about it is your job in order to replicate yourself. And that, I think, is the difference in between a lot of different models that are out there, where they're more like, hey, this is my secret, this is my stuff that I have. And it's like how big can I possibly get? And it feels like cancerous, right? Like in your body, if you had something that was like just growing without like actually like doing, it's like, it feels like cancerous, but something that's like healthy, it like divides and then it grows from there. Like that's like healthy growth. So that's why I believe so much in leadership. It's, so it's very cool.
Well, we could talk about leadership stuff all day. Because I'm a big fan of that stuff, and my father has a master's degree in organizational leadership and is a professional life coach, and so I have benefited from being around somebody like that and having a mentor like that in my life who knows me too well and won't let me get away with anything. So
it's fun to have that mirror so close to you.
Yeah. So, well, hey, thank you again so much. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Leads and Leverage. I hope you found our conversation insightful and actionable. Remember, success in real estate is not just about transactions. It's about the relationships you build, the teams you lead, and the impact you make in the lives of others. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with our community of real estate leaders and entrepreneurs, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring you more valuable content and guests. Don't forget to visit our website, gpghome.com/leads and leverage for additional resources, show notes, and exclusive updates. You can also follow me on Instagram at real_Tyler Gibson to join the conversation and connect with like-minded individuals. See you next week.